the meeting to order of the School Board, Ellwood City Area School District, January 15, 2015. Could we have a roll call, Mr. Zerone?
Mr. Mazzelli.
Here.
Mr. Cortez.
Here.
Mr. Garda.
Here.
Mrs. Grossman.
Here.
Mr. Morella.
Here.
Mr. Newpower.
Here.
Mrs. Pansara.
Here.
Mrs. Petrelli.
Here.
Mr. Stevenson.
Here.
Ms. Magnifico.
Here.
Mr. Mancini.
Here.
Mr. Carey.
Here. Okay, if we could rise for a moment of silent meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And if we could keep in mind the student that was injured this morning on Lord's Avenue. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I trust that everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from the December 4th and November 10th, as well as the November 13th meeting. So I'll need a motion to approve the minutes. Mr. Gazzelli, second. Mr. Garda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. We will start off with Ms. Magnifico with our student council report.
We had our annual Christmas dance, and it was a very big success. There were 185 students at the Quantic Commencement Country Club, 72 of which who had a wonderful dinner there. It was an excellent change of venue for our annual event. We are considering having a morgue this year, and the selection process for the date is in late March. The theme is neon lights. We have passed out our annual matchmaker fundraisers. Student council members have passed and collected them out, and the profits on January 6th, and we'll have the results back in time for Valentine's Day. We did a $100 gift card to a student in need of financial help for Christmas, and we are considering a Teen for Jeans cause. If everyone brings in used jeans, slightly used jeans, and we turn them into the air process store and give these to kids who need jeans.
What else you got to report?
We're using these ideas that I went to my summer conference in the summer that I was to try to get the kids in our school more involved in participating in activities.
What conference did you go to?
It was at Grove City. It was like a 4-day conference. I stayed the night and learned how to get kids more involved in leadership.
So it was a leadership conference.
All right, any questions for Ms. Magnifico? Thank you very much for your report.
And you don't have to be, but you can. And I think you probably do.
Thank you. Before we go to the visitors, I would ask that the members of the press identify themselves for the record.
Eric Poole, Ellwood City Ledger. Jonathan Cortez, ElwoodCity.org.
Thank you. Go with our visitors back in the corner. Mr. Crossan.
Jeff Krosivic, visitor.
Erica Gray, PTO.
Tanya Barnett, PTO.
Robin Rogers, visitor.
Welcome. Anything that you'd like to bring up at this point? All right, we'll come back to the visitors at the end of the meeting to give you another opportunity for any questions. All right, at this point, we'll go to the superintendent's report. Mr. Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Newpower. January is School Director Recognition Month. School directors generously contribute time and talents towards the advancement of public education. They establish policies and provide the framework for our public schools. They represent their local communities and attend lengthy and sometimes challenging meetings. Although we only show our appreciation this time in January, their contribution is a year-round commitment and is extended to them for their volunteerism here for the Ellwood City Area School District. As a new superintendent, I just appreciate the fact that our school board elected officials spend their own time here to try to promote the education here in Ellwood City. and there's a certificate honoring them this month, and I just want to thank them for their service. Any kind of public service is well honored. Another note, there's no school this Monday, January 19th, for both staff and students. What I'd like to do now is turn my report over to Quest Tech. We contracted with Quest Tech. They are a technology audit company. They'll kind of give you a background on what they do. It's been a long process, starting kind of last year, meeting with them, and then this year also. A lot of the things that they've done to kind of look at our technology and come in and evaluate where we are. And they did a thorough investigation into where we are. Interviewing students, interviewing staff. I'm kind of stealing his thunder probably.
Thank you.
Talking to Ellen and Joe, and looking at, going to our buildings and looking at all the technology we have, hardware, software, and everything. But we kind of introduced Jeff Main with Quest Tech, and he'll introduce his team and kind of the presentation that they're going to give.
Thank you. First of all, my name is Jeff Main. I'm the CEO of Quest Tech. I've been with Quest Tech for 16 years now. My father, Ron Main, he's the chairman, started the company about 38 years ago. And George Heinich, who's our director of project services and network operations center. So between us in education, we got about at least 50 or 60 years experience, and overall probably about 9 years. Yes.
You come around here.
Sure.
See.
Okay. Wherever you want me. 90
Right
years
there.
of experience. Cool. So when we do an assessment of a district like this, there's a ton of detail. And the report is very detailed. As you know, technology is about everything. It's kind of hard to determine what is technology, what isn't these days. With all that detail, and Mr. Mancini told me we had a good solid 2 hours to go over this, I was like, wow, that's really gracious. No, we understand there's a lot here. We're going to make it as quick as possible. Do it in 3 parts. Myself, my dad will do the vision piece, and then George will do his piece, and then we'll conclude. So then we'll leave up the questions at the end. So here's what we want to do. We want to establish some credibility. Why do we do that? Hey, we assessed your technology. We want to know who we are. Why are we credible to do this? What kind of experience do we have to look at Ellwood City? Review the results, give you a summary. We'll go over the assessment process, review the results, we'll have a conclusion, and then we'll have some Q&A. So just so you understand about us, this isn't for us to promote ourselves. It's really for you to understand, well, when we came in here and looked at Ellwood, what's different about what Quest Tech does? The biggest thing about what we do is our entire company is focused on managing technology in K-12 schools. We've been doing it for 38 years. We have an entire framework that kind of encompasses the whole process. So we live, breathe, eat, sleep, and work in schools every day across the state of Pennsylvania and beyond. Okay? This is our motto. It's called ETM. The way we manage the school is the same way we assess Ellwood City. Okay? So we use all of our best practices, procedures, and processes. There's 3 key areas. We look at it from an operational perspective, a transformative perspective, and a visionary perspective, which is kind of the strategic plan. Okay? Again, 30 plus years, sometimes it's hard to even determine when we actually started, but it's been a long time. We were the first company to automate technology in the libraries in the 1980s across the state of Pennsylvania, so that's how long. Actually, we did your library in the early 80s. Okay, so that's how long we've been around. Right now we're about 150 employees, close to 200 this summer with our growth, all working in K-12 and public schools. So we have a pretty large network of people managing school districts, and that helped in the assessment. Overall, right now we're actually about 29 Pennsylvania districts that completely outsource their technology. These are some of the lists. In Beaver County, we have, I think, 8 of 16 districts. We stretch all the way across the state to the Harrisburg, Philadelphia area. And most recently in your area, Garden City School District is one of our newest customers. So we have a lot of experience, diverse experience across very small districts all the way to 8,000 to 9,000 student districts across the state. So that helps because we understand Ellwood's situation financially and technology-wise by this base of customers. So what's the process? We have a pretty unique process. This is our 16th assessment in the last 4 years, so we've done this a lot. As long as they take, that's actually a pretty big number. Interviews is the key to it. We have to gauge the perception of what people think about technology. And we interview superintendents, principals, teachers, and my favorite, flat out, students in the technology department. And we kind of listen to what everybody's saying and try to read through the noise. And and get an understanding of what's really going on. We do a lot of data collection, budgets, network documentation, invoices, your mission and vision, your strategic plan that's been submitted to the state, into an inventory. We take all of that and we kind of mash it together into this big report that you have in front of you. Now ultimately, it's very complex because every district has a different requirement for what they want out of this assessment. But I think what we have for you today in the end is really what's important to Ellwood and how to move it forward. And actually, in the end, it's really what's most important for most schools these days. Okay? So we'll go over that. So to go over the summary, we'd like to take a statement, a quote by one person, and see if it kind of sums up everything we've heard. This really did it. This is one quote. We can't remember who exactly, or we don't want to really tell you, but it was from a student, teacher, somebody. We need consistency with our technology. Each class has something different. Some use Apple, some use Google, some use Windows. You know, in the end, that really sums it up. A lack of consistency in technology, in the way you're investing in it, and the platform you're deploying into the classrooms is really what everybody consistently talked about, whether it was an elementary student or whether it was a teacher. And I will tell you, that's not uncommon in the state. All right, it's pretty common, all right? Especially with the way these companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Google have evolved recently. All right, they've created a battleground, and it's kind of been a little bit tough on schools. And then you think back to CFF, classrooms of the future. But anyway, this statement really summed it up for us at Ellwood. This was really it. The universal theme across what everybody was telling us in different ways, in which we had to validate, is that it's reactive here. Okay, very reactive in the way technology is purchased, and the planning, and it lacks consistency. Okay, so when we hear that, when we heard that noise, when we summed that all up, which again we see all the time, so we kind of might have known that was the case here before we ever walked in the door, but we heard it through everybody. In the end, we have to take what we heard and we have to figure out, okay, is it really valid? All right? Hey, we've seen it a bunch of times. Sounds like it's true. It's true in most schools, but is it really valid here at Ellwood? So the way we do that is through SWOT analysis. And we do a SWOT analysis across 3 areas: your vision, your strategic plan, your infrastructure and your technology, and the operations that supports it. And that usually helps us validate the real case. Okay? So I'm going to turn this over to Roy Main, who specializes in the vision piece and his evaluation of your strategy.
Thank you. Thank you for having us tonight and the
I'm going
attention
to press it down.
to have me take a few minutes of your time to communicate what this document does. This is a served us with over 100 hours of high-level technology thinking, planning, and design in this document. So please read it, and some of it may feel complicated, but we try to keep it to the basic understanding. My portion today is from page 9 through 13. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, 4 minutes of something that should take you an hour to get through. Okay? So let me start with my thinking with vision in our assessment. The thing we're here to do is to put context, understanding of where your vision is. And thanks to Joe, we looked at it, we read your comprehensive plan, and then we interviewed the people, so we understand that the vision, we're here to understand the vision. But here's what we want to make this statement so you get an understanding of our context of what we're saying. A vision without a plan is just a dream. Does everybody agree with that? A plan without a vision is drudgery, because you do everything at any time for any reason based on, and that's kind of where we see the last 10 years of you have been. We're here to say, and I'm here to share with you, that a vision with a plan will change your world. And we're here to expand on that vision for you and help you. So from that point of view, that's what I think about vision. So I'm here just to help you with the vision and what we heard. And here are the strengths and the weaknesses. I'll get them quick. The strength that we heard and we were impressed and we think you should build off of is that you have a desired culture to learn to use technology better. That's your teachers, and that's your students, and that's your administrators. Strong piece. There's no, don't do this, we're not ready for this. Show me, give me, guide me, train me, get me moving. They're telling us that. That's a strong point. The other is, they're interested in how we use technology as an effective partner. And when I say that, I want you all to look at me for a second. I want to be your partner. I mean, I want to strive to make you better so that I can be better. Is that correct? That is what we need to know, how technology makes me a better teacher and makes your students a better learner. And can we create the technology to do that? I think you got it. Not that you know how to do that yet. I think you got the people that want to and desire to have that happen. And that's a strength. The weakness?
It's in your projector.
The comprehensive plan does not accurately address technology. In the comprehensive plan, this is what the superintendent, you're required to give to the state of Pennsylvania to say, I know how to operate a full everything in schools. The pedagogy, which is the science of teaching and learning, that it applies to how my teachers teach. You know, this is your comprehensive plan. It had a very small piece with technology. I think, and if you look at your world, it's how many years still work? I still work up 60. I'll bet you got technology all around you in your office. If you don't, you're probably still an old timer, does things, makes money, does what he has, but he's not stretching into tomorrow, right? I get buddies, and they're very successful, they don't need to change. But today's world, it's changing. So, the point I make is that in all the things that you're doing in school and education, delivering education, technology is going to be there. And I think we need to begin understanding in your strategic planning, your vision, where that's going to be and how it's going to happen. And that's a weakness, but I think we can help you there. That's one of the things that we can help you on very well. The opportunities. This is what gets you, you all should be excited as board members. You know, the professional learning community utilize technology as an integral teaching partner. People, you have the opportunity to build or technology as a partner. It's not just a little technology device or a tool. It actually starts teaching. How many heard of Khan Academy? Khan Academy? How many? Raise your hand so I can see just for, okay. Technology is teaching, right? It's the integral partner. It is not just a tool. Kids are learning from it. Adults are learning from it. That you have an opportunity to start doing. I don't see you doing that as of now. It's an opportunity, though, because you got a chance to refurbish everything you got. Because everything you have, as George is going to show you in a minute, is old and decrepit. The librarian told me that much of my computers are older than my kids. And it ain't that should not be if you're going to be a leading edge and delivering a proper education for tomorrow. You all agree? I think we all can shake our heads to that. Okay. The high school library. Libraries of the future. Now, I'm on the board of the Beaver Falls Carnegie Library, and I'm running a comprehensive plan, and we're changing the world, and we want to live in down there. And it's becoming where the libraries of tomorrow are not about books. It's about knowledge and the exchange of knowledge. So we create you, us old folks, us young folks, come in and can grab knowledge and learn continuously. You can get a book if you want. You can get computers if you want. But we'll teach you how you can grow your knowledge. That's where libraries need to be. You have an opportunity in your library because the librarian is ready for this. She doesn't want you to be pushing books there. She wants to be teaching this stuff. Do you all agree with that? I mean, that's the future libraries. I mean, do you agree that books are important and we can never get rid of them and we should always keep them? However, a lot of learning and knowledge is going to come from what? The technology, right? So that's an opportunity, and we want you to build on your opportunities. And the threats. You know, Jeff and George, I'm getting finished. I used my 5 minutes. Shared vision, if you don't create it and get your teachers believing that you guys, the board members, the leaders, your governance folks, back this change, you're not going to get them to be part of it. You need them, all of you got to be in harmony with that. So you have a shared vision that's not created, and believed in is gonna be a threat. Okay? That makes sense. And the last one I think is a threat, and this is you, and we're gonna hit on that pretty hard, that you treated technology as just a tool, a device, a maybe, or should have it thing. And you gotta change to say, it's imperative that I use it in my instructions, my learning, and all the things that we can do to accelerate and manage it. You just don't throw it out there, it's gotta be thought out properly. And that's under professional development. So there you go, that's my story. So I'm passionate about it, I believe in it, I believe that we can change education, and we certainly know how to help you change education. You, as managers, governance folks, have to fund it, and it's got to change within your belief in it, okay? I want to endorse George. You know, I founded our company, but Jeff came to me after he had a career at RPS as a programmer, and then became FedEx, and he came to us, and now he leads 150 engineers, and make sure that all the proper technology and all the things we do is there. George come out of Carnegie Mellon. He's come out of Johns Hopkins, I believe, right?
Yes.
He was a math person, the same as I am. I come out of Youngstown State, but I was a poor math person. He made a lot of money in the math business.
I don't know about that.
But he's here now to share with you some high-level assessments, not a vision, that's what I just showed you, but of your foundation, your infrastructure.
Okay. George Heinrich, I'm the Director of Project Services, and I did not get a degree in projector management.
Sorry, George.
Okay. We did the transformation group, and what the transformation group is, think about all the large projects. It's the bridge from the vision that Ron talked about to the day-to-day operations, which will be the final of the three areas of the ETM model. And just like Ron, we did a SWOT analysis. Jeff, can you be my page advancer? It's the down arrow, right? There we go. Some of the strengths that we saw, we were really impressed with one of the programs that's been here in Ellwood City called the Google Fast Doctor Program. We've seen this in one other school district, and we think it's highly successful. Basically, instructors are encouraged to basically write a grant request. They document what they will do with new technology that's brought into their classroom. We think that's a great idea. The technology goes in there, the instructor knows what to do, they're bought in, and we think you can build on that. We also, we found this rather unique to Ellwood City, is that Ellwood City, although we've talked about previously that you have a wide diversity of technology, what's unique is you're not really locked in to any one platform. So if the administration decides that they want to go the Google for Education route, that's definitely very feasible here. There's a similar program available from Apple and Windows as well. So you've got a lot of flexibility. The weaknesses by far, and this is just outshadows everything else, is the age of your computer equipment in the classroom, and there'll be some more detail here. But you really have a challenge on your hands. You've got a lot of computers out there with the Windows XP operating system, which has been insecure for a long time now, and it really needs to be addressed. The second point about the infrastructure does not support online assessments and personal learning initiatives. That's not so much a critical need right now. I think there's a lot of sentiment out there that there would be a preference to do assessments on paper anyhow, but there won't be a choice coming down the road. This is the tsunami that's about to hit Ellwood City School District. When these things become requirements and expectations from the state, from the federal government on how you do business, you really don't have the infrastructure to support that. you could do it, but if, if everybody in the, if you had a whole class doing online assessments, and right next door you've got another class with 30 students that are all streaming separate videos at the same time, I think your network, and certainly your endpoint devices, would have a hard time. And the other thing was that we heard a lot that the current email system doesn't meet the user expectations. There's a real opportunity for improvement there. Some of the opportunities that you have is that there's a lot of offerings out in the cloud, and you could move very rapidly. You could move you have a file server that's definitely in need of some upgrade, some investment, but you could bypass that for the most part and move a lot of your file storage out in the cloud. It would facilitate anytime learning. It would be great for the students to access more and more of their educational materials remotely. And there's a lot of collaborative tools out there, some of which we've been experimented with here. So that's a great opportunity for Ellwood to take advantage of. And the real threats is that if you continue to use technology that's over 6 years old, that's going to become a real issue. And another threat is the rapid change in consumerization of technology. What we see in school districts similar to Ellwood City, that for a variety of reasons have really not been able to keep pace with change. As you know, your younger students out there, they're very fluent in technology. And so are your younger instructors. And what will happen, we didn't see this happening here, but they will, out of necessity, start bringing in their consumer devices. And that does get, they can have some moderate success in one classroom. But what will happen is Ellen will get bombarded with help requests to leverage technology that was never designed to work in an enterprise environment like this. And so that's something that you need to be on the lookout for. So these are our recommendations. These are the major project areas that we recommend that Ellwood City invest in moving forward. Clearly, refreshing your assets. And assets are anything from servers and switches all the way down to tablets and laptops. And I'll have more information about that on the next slide. Also, your whole internet and network performance. The FCC just recently had a modernization order in December. And what they recommended for your internet speed is 100 megabits for every 1,000 students. So what do we have here? A little over 1,800 students? So that means that today, you should have 200 megabits for your internet connection, and I think you're currently at 50. And then they also said in short time frame, and most people interpret that within 5 years, their expectation is that you'll have a gigabit. So there's an expectation out there for fattening the pipe to the outside world. And if you do fatten that pipe, that's going to create quite a burden on your network infrastructure, and it has to be refreshed to take advantage of that. And finally, at this point in time, you can fatten your pipe, but for most of the computers that are sitting in the library or on the teacher's desk, I don't know if they'd actually see that advantage because they're constrained by how old the machine is. We also recommended that you continue migrating to the cloud. That seems to be, Google for Education is one example, but that seems to be an appropriate solution. There's also a Microsoft and an Apple alternative. And finally, I mentioned that E-rate modernization order. A lot of funding has been made available to encourage school districts to create a broadband infrastructure within the school itself. Now that's everything from the fiber optic links between buildings, which in Ellwood's case, there's a wireless link and then there's another lease line that we think's running at some very low speeds, what we call T1. And all the way from those WAN connections to the switches and the wireless access points. So That's an opportunity for Ellwood City because you could get quite a substantial subsidy from the federal government, maybe as much as 80%. But here's the key point. Key point is an asset refresh. This is just a high-level analysis. What we do is we take a look at your devices by type. We have an approximate cost of what it would cost to replace it along with maintenance. And then we have inventoried all the assets you have. You can see down above the queue, it says 2022. There's approximately 2,000 technology devices in this school district. With, if you were to replace the whole shebang all at once, it's an over $2 million investment. Now, the lifespan of a technology investment will vary by type. You buy a tablet, you're going to be lucky to get 3 years of good performance out of it. You buy a switch, the trade journals say 4.5 years. I've seen districts get quite more time out of that. But what we've done as an approximation is we just said we're assuming a 5-year replacement cycle on average. And then we've taken a look at the devices that are 5 years or older as of right now. And you can see over half your devices are 5 years or older. So if you wanted to maintain a 5-year, what we call a technical refresh cycle, that is $1 million investment right away. Now, that's a little bit impractical for any school district, right? So what we do is we just say, based on a 5-year refresh cycle, you gotta invest 1/5 every year. And so something that you should walk away from, just as a general rule of thumb, is that you should be investing something in the neighborhood of $429,000 every year in your technical assets.
How does that compare to neighboring districts, that number of 430,000?
Well, it's an ambitious goal to refresh all your technology every 5 years. Some
Except
school
for the
districts-
one-to-one district. Except for districts that have gone one-to-one.
Yeah, some districts-
They're refreshing every 3,
Right.
in some cases.
So, we see a lot of variety in that. But the key is, what makes us, any organization successful, in our opinion, is that you consistently refresh at the same rate. The zigzag pattern is what makes it very, very difficult. Where you don't know for 3 years in a row, you're managing your technology as if there's absolutely no money to spend at all, and you're doing nothing but Band-Aids. And then all of a sudden, a grant appears, or a federal government program appears, and a limited staff is expected to do a wholesale replacement with brand new technology that really they already use.
I think, George, you mentioned that if you did it right now, you'd have $1 million, because they have a lot of assets that are going into year 8. I think
Yes.
that's a key piece, that if you look at the report closely, the biggest challenge right now is you've already stretched 2 or 3 years of asset replacements into year 8.
You have quite a few devices from a program called Classrooms for the Future. What we typically see in school district is, a very small subset of those devices languishing around, but in this district, I think they're all in production, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you have hundreds of XP machines, as I recall. And they all, and actually, that's a little bit unusual for us. At this point in time, there's very few school districts that we know that still have XP machines in production.
And that's due to Microsoft doesn't even acknowledge it as of last summer.
Yeah, there's no security update, so it's a real problem.
Risky as you can get.
And I believe that's all for the transformation section, so I want to hand it over to Jeff.
Okay, I got one section and then conclusion, so try to move through here quick. We appreciate your patience. So my section, the last one, is the operations. We're going to wrap this up at the end, but I'll say it now. What needs to happen at Ellwood City is you have to have an investment in these assets, but you also have to have an investment in people to support and manage them. And that is definitely a challenge. So
We should fire Ellen or what?
yeah. So I would talk to her first if she. No, definitely, and that's a good segue into this. Of all the things we looked at and the support of your district by Alan and Joe, it's quite amazing you have two people supporting 2,200 assets. I mean, you don't even need to be in technology to say that's a 1 to 1,100 ratio of a person to asset. And it's, in business, it's 1 to 50. Average in schools, it's 1 to 500 in K-12. So 1 to 1,001 assets per IT staff is just off the chart. And so, you know, it could be, we look at that as a strength. It is your largest weakness, but in the end, you have to say, oh, nice job for maintaining it. The problem, as George had outlined, is when you do start to refresh and schools start to invest, they usually only put in the capital expenditures, and then the operations is kind of set to take the rest of the load, and they're already overworked. So we want to make sure you're aware of that it's a parallel investment. Another strength is your 2 IT staff have been here for a long time. They're tenured, and they understand every nook and cranny of the district. So, you know, that's pretty rare anymore these days. We don't see that very often. Most of the people that have been 30 years in the district, 25, have moved on. You see a lot of newer people these days. Some of the weaknesses, you know, when you have a staff of 2 and 2,200 assets that are aging, these are pretty easy. Ellen has no plan to practically do anything. I mean, if you look at the scope that I've outlined in the document through our interviews, she does stuff that is not typically even done in IT. You know, doing PINs right now is a data service that is moving out of IT's control, should not be in IT. E-rate, there's so many components of what she's doing that really lack of time to craft and plan is almost, it's just unbelievable. Lack of depth and resources, it's 2 people, and we were digging through your invoices to try to find these other vendors that were supporting everything, we couldn't find them. You know, usually there's, you know, buried money everywhere in the technology budget that third parties are really helping IT. We just don't have it. But there's a real lack of depth and resources to help. When you do buy new technology, you're expecting Ellen and her staff to not only be technically competent in managing it, procuring it, deploying it, securing it, all that, but then we're saying, you know, make sure to implement when we get the ROI, train teachers, work with them, etc. It's a pretty daunting task, okay? And then again, if you look at your fleet of assets, we're asking them to do that across 3 different platforms, Microsoft, Apple, and Google, which is even another challenge to even be an expert in one, let alone all 3. Okay? Opportunities. I think, you know, regain people's confidence in IT. I think you have a chance here after this assessment to really get people excited and your stakeholders excited in schools and regain confidence in technology. We've done 5 assessments to IU4 schools. So I can tell you right now, you have an opportunity to really set the standard locally. There's a lot of schools that are in the same boat within IU4. Garden City, I will tell you that they just moved ahead after their assessment pretty aggressively. They're going to transform that district from a technology perspective. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to really make a statement about the things you're doing. The threat is, you know, this is a threat in every district we go into. Okay, I'm going to go out and buy the assets, refresh. I'm going to do what George says, get fresh, shiny stuff, and then turn, and there's no operating investment on the IT staff. That's a real threat. You have to do both. Going forward, no matter what you do with QuestTech, every time you buy technology, Ellen has to be able to say, how does this impact my operation? Okay? A threat to you as you do move forward, we've seen this in other districts when they get going, is you start to buy more and heavier instructional applications. More technology beyond just the physical assets that's used in the classroom for assessment and teaching. And these applications are complex, okay? And there's a ton of instructional applications. PINs is a huge threat. PIMS is the state's requirement for Ellwood City to submit data. And that is about everything you can imagine. Basically, it builds your school profile, okay? And it's what everybody looks on the internet about Ellwood. Test scores and demographics, everything you can imagine. Well, the requirements to take that data and move it from Ellwood to the state is a daunting task. And it keeps getting more and more complex, and Ellen's doing that right now. This is basically the backbone of that process. And Ellen, you know, I had to put this one up there. You don't know the knowledge. You know, that's always a challenge in a district in these situations. We've seen it. You know, you have one person that has all the knowledge, and that's tough. So, you know, you want to think about as you go forward to kind of distribute that knowledge as much as you can. So that is a threat. So the recommendations, we have a tiered, we're recommending a proper structure of the IT department. It's not really about the people, it's about the way it's structured, roles and responsibilities. And that's what our recommendation is. 3 options in our plan. They're different states, different investments. But, you know, you really need to start putting in a tiered support structure. As you move forward, you're going to invest in technology, it's got to be supported properly. Project management, you're in such a position that all your investments going forward are going to require change. And that requires planning, training, etc. You can't just buy the asset, it doesn't stop there. You're going to need some project management. You're going to need to improve communications and collaboration. You know, really, you want at a point where you have an IT department where you can go out and talk with the teachers, work with them, integrate technology, and oh, by the way, be very good on the back end to manage it. And as that communications and collaborations improves, you'll have better investment. Your ROI on the technology will be better. Teachers will use it, students will benefit. At some point, you're going to need that application management. In every school district that we manage, in all 29, we have an applications analyst that takes care of instructional, administrative, and our larger districts like Butler and North Hills, we have 2. These are some heavy hitter apps that are coming in these days that are working with kids and teachers in the classroom. As you invest going forward, you're going to need somebody that does that. And IP convergence, you can see here, everything's becoming IP based. If you do any renovations, and I'm not sure your building ages and renovations, but we have had district call up and said, you know, the amount of technology they're supporting in a new building renovation doubles. Because you basically own everything, to the marquee, to the projectors, to every camera systems, HVAC, everything is converging onto IT. So that even if you don't buy assets, what happens is they're gaining scope every day. Okay? Phone, video, security, those are just some of the examples. Okay? So here's the conclusion. This is like what the moment we've all been waiting for. You know, this is really complex to form a conclusion out of all this stuff. Conclusion. But we think after 14, 16 assessments, this is what you really need to hear. You must develop a vision in the use of technology. And it has to be a comprehensive plan that includes technology. We talked about that. You have to do that. Okay? And you have to commit to a comprehensive multi-year budget. Okay? You can't do it one. You can't do it here. You can't do it there. It has to be every year. The schools that are making a difference in the classroom technology have committed to a budget that they can rely on and depend on. Okay? The technology gets better. People are it's more reliable. It's more dependable. They start to use it better, the ROI on technology. If you just shoot chunks of investments at it, obviously you got spots of success, terrible areas, and you can't sift through the noise to figure out what's really going on. You must commit to a comprehensive multi-year budget based on that vision. And that includes assets and people to operate. Okay? That's a key piece. Some of our past assessments, people turn around and bought 1,000 assets. And they didn't really read the tea leaves about what we were saying in terms of a full investment. And they said, we're doing great things, we have a lot of assets, but we're really not doing great things. Estimated yearly spend between technology and the plan and a perpetual support environment, which is a basic state of IT improvement here, you're looking at $600K a year. Strategically prepared investment, we're talking about $780K. What that means is you're really transforming the educational process with IT, with technology. Now, obviously these numbers can be optimized. These are based on your asset refresh cycle and our estimates, and what we believe as you change it would take to staff the technology department properly to prepare them. But these are big numbers. You have to decide where you want to go based on that vision. And in the end, as you do this, the most successful districts right now in our portfolio are communicating and marketing the success of these investments to the community, to the stakeholders, to everybody involved in surrounding districts. There's a little bit of a game going out there. How many of you have heard of one-to-one in a district and thought, that is awesome? Nope. Okay. If you think, we hear it all the time, hey, my neighbor's doing a one-to-one initiative, one laptop or device for every student. And people go, hey, I want to do that. They must be doing great things. It doesn't mean they're doing great things. Okay, a lot of people will buy that to appear they are. But are they really impacting student achievement? You've got to make sure that you're measuring and communicating that. So what's your barrier to all this? We understand, hey, we can come up with these numbers, we can be we are the expert, we can tell you all this, but really this is what we really care about. Your barrier, your constraint to change is determining your financial investment into the future. And you have to decide what comes first. Okay, the financial commitment or the vision? Does Mr. Mancini and his staff build a vision for Ellwood City with you? And build that plan and then come back and ask you for the funds to fund that plan? Or do you decide what you can contribute, and then you build a vision around that? That's really the toughest challenge. And you have to decide that as a board administration on what you're willing to commit to technology and allow that vision to be built. Or you build that vision and then you guys fund it. And that knowing all the constraints with finance, that's a tough challenge. Okay? All right, but that's what you need to do. We've seen a lot of people run out and build a comprehensive vision that is truly transformative to the district. But they turn around and the board can't fund 10% of it, 20% of it, or they fund it 1 year, year 2 they drop it. All right, it comes down to what can you bear and what can you fund over a 5-year cycle and continue on, because that's how you're going to change for your students. I will tell you this: I interviewed your elementary students, and what is coming down the road from you in 5th grade is a total different customer. I said to the high school kids, hey. I said to the elementary kids, they were all in the room with the high school kids, I said to the elementary kids, now I want to apologize because these high school kids are probably going to be overbearing and they're going to talk. The 2 5th graders, nobody got a word in. They talked about technology the entire time. And the high school kids sitting in this room were in awe of the elementary kids because they are different. All right, there's a different requirement, they have a different background, they've grown up differently, even between 5th grade and 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So you have a different customer coming that you guys support. They're on their way. It's only a couple years away. Okay? So we thank you. Thank you for the group back here for being patient, and we're open to any questions you may have about the assessment. If there's none, that's okay too. We never know if that's great or good or bad, but
No, I have one.
okay.
Can you tell us where to get the money to do that? Because this looks great.
I can answer that. I read in the paper, your article. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to answer that. There's definitely. I will tell you why. I will tell you this. Why do people end up investing in the capital piece first? Because they can lease equipment over 5 years and reduce that payment. Okay, but then when it comes to the operating expense, that's a little bit different, right?
You can't lease that.
Yeah, right, you can't lease that. So that's why you see that's what's going on in K-12. They look at it and go, really, the only thing I can afford to get is the assets. So I'm going to rush out and get a ton of them, appear to be making change, but I'm not really comprehensively planning everything. That's what's key here, okay? That's what's key in the plan going forward, is to make sure it's comprehensive across everything based on what you can afford to invest in. So that's really actually a good question.
You put 2 numbers up on the board, 600K and 780K. Is it reasonable to think of half of that 600K, like a $300,000 plan, or is it like all or nothing? Or
yeah. So here I'll give you the answer to that in this way. You have Ellen and her one other staff member, and she has this fleet of assets. She could spend weeks looking at what Google can do, other cloud options and assets, and really building a comprehensive strategy to reduce that spend. The problem is, what do you do day to day? Every day is probably a reactive, something new, a fire to put out, some new situation, a new requirement. And so your challenge is that you really have to have the time to analyze that spend and optimize it and look at it from a comprehensive spend. So you're right on. The answer is yes. Some do it great, some fail, and they do it wrong. It's just about the time they put into that plan and that evaluation of what we showed you. Now, also that delta was the state you choose, okay? Do you want to be Central Valley doing a complete one-to-one, spending $1 million a year in iPads right now, and impacting all the way down an aggressive 3 to 5 year plan? Or do you want to, or is your plan maybe over a longer period of time, a little less aggressive to that area? So that's really the delta, where you got to decide what state you want to be in. Okay? And so, okay. Anything else? All right, well, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening. If obviously you have contact with us, if you have any questions or thoughts about it, or need to look at what's going on in some other districts or anything you need. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All kinds of stuff about what I said. Someone give me my card, because I'm very less than this, right? If you have any questions, just to clarify anything, just let me know.
Bob with the words. Bob. See, this is 8 years of us using this candy. You'd think it would eventually disappear, but it keeps getting replenished. Yeah. It's a never-ending.
Little jar satisfies a lot of school.
That's right. It's like a never-ending. You keep eating it, it keeps getting refilled.
All right. Appropriately, after that, we'll go into revenue and finance. Mr. Morella.
Thank you. Number 7 under Revenue and Finance, General Fund Treasurer's Report. In your folder are the General Fund Treasurer's Reports for the period November 1 through November 30, 2014, and December 1 through December 31, 2014. The summary of accounts at November 30 is as follows. ESB checking, $368,325.97. PLGIT, $10,323.83. PSDLAF, $1,385.14. PA Invest, $378.66. ESB Certificates of Deposit, $5,636,283.34. ESB Bank Public Investment Account, $4,519,220.13. Total cash and investments at November 30, 2014, $10,535,917.07. The summary of accounts at December 31 is as follows. ESB checking, $346,972.63. PLGIT, $10,324.02. PSDLAF, $1,385.17. PA Invest, $378.68. ESB Bank Public Investment Account, $5,436,794.56. ESB Bank Certificate of Deposit, $5,521,796.69. Total cash and investments at December 31, 2014, $11,317,651.75. I move the Treasurer's reports for the months of November and December 2014 be approved as presented.
Second. Second by Mr. Cortez.
Number 8, General Fund Accounts.
Really good job. First time I got to hear anybody else read all those numbers. I enjoy listening better than I enjoy reading them. Any question about that information? All in favor of, any objections to the motion?
The public investment really went up. Is that,
That transfer from Reggie?
Yeah, you're talking about the November report?
from the, yeah.
From November
Yeah,
to
the
December.
certificate of deposit would have matured and we would have moved the money over, and or in December, we get state subsidy, $1.8 million approximately, so that's, the bulk of that money would have gone.
Okay, number 8, General Fund Accounts Payable Report.
Any objections to the motion? Okay, motion passed.
Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Number 8, General Fund Accounts Payable Report, for the third time. In your folder are the General Fund Accounts Payable checks. Included are checks 108145 through 108451. 305 checks and 14 wire transfers amounting to $3,432,311.54. I move the General Fund Accounts Payable checks and wire transfers be approved as presented.
Second. Mr. Bazzelli. Any questions about the motion? Any objections to the motion? Motion passes.
Number 9, Capital Reserve Fund Treasurer's Report. In your folder are the Capital Reserve Fund Treasurer's Reports for November and December. The total investments at November 30, 2014 were $10,930.64, with $19,488.59 in the checking account and a deposit in transit of $650,000 due from the general fund for a total available of $680,419.23. The total investments at December 31, 2014 were $10,931.49, with $763.82 in the checking account and $650,000 due from the general fund for a total available of $661,695.31. I move the Capital Reserve Fund Treasurer's Reports for November and December 2014 be approved as presented.
Second, Mrs. Grossman. Any questions about the motion? Any objections? Motion passes.
Number 10, Capital Reserve Fund Accounts Payable Report. In your folder is the Capital Reserve Fund Accounts Payable Report. Included is one check 1437 amounting to $388.50. I move the report be approved as presented.
Second, Mr. Stevenson. Any questions? Any objections? Motion passes.
Number 11, Quarterly Earned Income Tax Report. In your folder is the Quarterly Earned Income Tax Report as of December 31, 2014. I move the report be approved as presented.
Second,
Second.
Mrs. Grossman. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
I would also ask that the following reports be made part of the minutes of this evening's meeting. As of October 31, 2014, cafeteria report. As of November 30, 2014, tax collection report, revenue versus budget, expenditures versus budget, investment report, investment earnings report, cafeteria report, athletic facility report, Helling Stadium Century Club report. As of December 31, 2014, tax collection report, revenue versus budget, expenditures versus budget, investment report, investment earnings report, cafeteria report, athletic facility fund report, and Helling Stadium Century Club.
Okay, Mr. Giroux, we see that they're made part of this evening's minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Question. I was just looking at the cafeteria report. Still no better?
That's actually what the budget is. We don't anticipate it getting
Better.
We anticipate maintaining where we are as best we can.
The new food service, and that, we were hopeful for a little.
We just have, our labor and benefit costs are just too high to expect it to ever.
Anything but.
Even if it does better, it'll never reach.
They're on budget though. We meet every month and they're on budget.
We're never gonna get close to going even.
Okay, number 12, 2013-14 audit report. The Philip Weiner Company has completed the audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2014. And representatives of the firm have reviewed it with the board and administrative staff. An examination of the records of the general, capital reserve, cafeteria, athletic facility, and activity funds, as well as various federal and state programs, indicated no material discrepancies and found that the district was in compliance with all laws, regulations, and standards for the audit of government organizations. I move that the audit report be approved as presented and that the business manager be authorized to file the report with the Department of Education and other appropriate organizations.
Second, Mr. Garda. Any questions? Mr.
Comment
Stevenson.
on it. This particular thing we're voting on now and the next one, we owe a real gratitude to thanks. I mean, I know that's what we're paying for. But the guy over there did a whale of a job in both these areas.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you for a job well done, Mr. Giroux. Any other questions or discussions? Any objections? Motion approved.
13, performance audit. The Department of the Auditor General has recently completed an audit of district records for the period of May 22, 2012 through August 1, 2014, and additionally for compliance specific to state subsidies and reimbursements for the 2010-11 and 2011-12 fiscal years. The audit found the district complied in all significant respects with relevant requirements, and there were no findings or observations. I move that the audit report be approved as presented.
Second, Ms. Pansara. Any questions about the motion? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
14, repository tax sale approval. Jeffrey Davis has submitted a bid of $750 on an Ellwood property located at 520 Newton Avenue. The parcel is currently held as a repository property by the Lawrence County Tax Claim Bureau. I move that the bid be accepted and the business manager be authorized to execute and return the bid acceptance form.
Second. Ms. Pansara? Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
2014-15 MOU for Special Education Services. In your folder is a memorandum of understanding between the district and the MIU that calls for the IU to provide special ed services and programs to approximately 16 district students at an estimated cost of $360,945. I move the MOU be approved as presented.
Second. Mr. Gardner? Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
16, budget display, advertising, referendum resolution. In your folder is a resolution authorizing proposed preliminary budget display and advertising and authorizing referendum exceptions relative to the 2015-16 budget. I move the resolution be approved as presented.
Second. Mr. Bazili? Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
17, dyslexia and early literacy intervention pilot program. In your folder is an agreement with Intermediate Unit 1 to administer the dyslexia and early literacy intervention pilot program. I move that the agreement be approved as presented.
Second.
Second. Mr. Cortez? Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
18, PSBA policy service. PSBA has submitted a proposal in the amount of $1,650 to review and update all policies in the employee-related sections of the policy manual, incorporate district-specific language, and process electronic transmission of the policies. The service will also streamline the policy manual by combining 3 separate sections of the board policy manual into one. I move the proposal be approved as presented.
Second. Ms. Grossman? Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
That is all tonight I have under Revenue and Finance, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morelli. You passed your first test in getting the auditor's name right, so I commend you on that.
Thank you.
We'll move to, I messed it up one time 8 years ago, and they never
We giggled the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, standing joke. All right, Personnel and Education, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Number 19, children of non-resident staff members. I move that Liam McGuire, son of staff member Shannon McGuire, 1929 South Jefferson Street, Newcastle, Pennsylvania, be accepted as a non-resident student to the Ellwood City Area School District for the 2015-16 school year under the provisions of board policy number 202, eligibility of non-resident students.
Second. Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
Number 20, elementary PSSA tutor. I move that Ms. Melissa Gret, 1024 Harmony Fisher Avenue, Ellwood City, be hired as a PSSA math tutor at Hartman Intermediate School under the terms and conditions of the RTI Tutor Memorandum of Understanding between the district and EAEA.
Second. Mr. Cortez. Any questions about the motion? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 21, resignation. April Nichols has submitted her resignation as head volleyball coach effective immediately. I move the resignation be accepted.
Second. Mr. Grossman. Any questions?
Yeah,
Mr. Stevenson.
what's happening there? We're losing volleyball coaches like we were losing soccer coaches. Is there an athletic reason or a
No,
problem?
we had one person that was dedicated and she made the program and then she quit. Now we can't find anyone to fill it. Dedication, no one wants to do it.
I mean, unfortunately, it comes back to getting enough interest. If you remember last year when we interviewed, we had 2 applicants. And, you know, it was a stretch. They didn't have a whole lot of background on whether they realized maybe they were in over their head. I don't know. But I mean, for the sake of that program, and more competitive considering the relatively brief history of sport at our school, so I certainly
Are we
hope.
going to look for another coach, or are we gonna drop the
Absolutely.
program, or what?
We're going to
Or we have
advertise.
one online?
We submitted your name, Mr. Stevens.
So thank you.
Yeah. You started yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Being that it's a,
Get the ball over to that girl.
relatively new sport for Ellwood City, we don't have a lot of staff members who have experience.
Right.
To step in and coach. And looking for a coach full-time takes a lot of time, and oftentimes, people who are interested need to have jobs.
Well, we're not getting rid of the program, right?
No, I don't.
Certainly would hope not. All right, any other questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 22, psychologist intern. I move the administration be authorized to advertise for a psychologist intern for the 2015-2016 school year at a pay rate of $12,000 to be funded through the Dyslexia and Early Literacy Intervention Pilot Program grant.
Second, Mr. Gazzelli. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
That's all I have for tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garda. Brings us to properties and transportation, Ms. Pansara.
Thank you, Mr. President. A facility request, A, Lincoln High School cheering boosters request permission to operate the concession stand during the boys' junior and senior high home basketball games for the 2015-2016 school year. B, the American Cancer Society requests the use of Helling Stadium football field, the track, practice football field, the lights, press box, restrooms, and concession stands with water and electric on Friday, May 15, 2015, from 5 to 9 p.m., and on Saturday, May 16, 2015, from 8 a.m. until midnight, to set up and host the annual Relay for Life walk. C, Special Olympics of Lawrence County requests permission to use the Lincoln High School boys' gym for basketball practice on Saturdays from 3 to 5 on February 7th, 14th, 28th, March 7th, 14th, 21, 28th, April 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th, May 2nd, 9, 16, 23, 30th, and June 6, 2015. D, Ellwood City Girls Softball League request permission to use the Lincoln High School small gym on Saturday, March 14th, and Saturday, March 21st, 2015, for softball practices from 1 to 4 p.m. I move that the facility request be approved as presented.
Second, Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Mr. Morel?
Yeah, under C, did we get those dates cleared up? I know that on Monday, we said a couple of days were overlapping with somebody else.
I think they'll work them out. They always kind of work with each other, so I'll make sure they're clarified.
That was my question.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they're aware and they get it straightened out. Okay, any other questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Authorized bids for supplies. I move that the administration be authorized to advertise and accept bids for general art, industrial arts, athletic, custodial, and nursing supplies for the 2015-2016 school year.
Second, Mr. Gazzelli. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Lawrence County Natural Gas Consortium. I move that the administration be authorized to enter into an agreement with Direct Energy Business to provide natural gas through October 2017, providing that the price is in the range of $3.69 to $3.92 per decaturn. I further move that the administration be authorized to execute the Commodity Master Agreement and the Natural Gas Transaction Confirmation, a copy of which is in your folder, contingent upon the solicitor review and approval.
Second, Mr. Morel. Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
Disposal of equipment. I move that the administration be authorized to dispose of the used telephone system under the provisions of Board Policy 706.1.
Second, Mr. Garda. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Ellwood City Amateur Baseball Federation. Ellwood City Amateur Baseball Federation has requested authorization to make the following improvements to Friedhoff Little League Field. Replacement of the roofs and doors on the Little League press box and concession stand. Adding motion lights to improve safety and security, and installation of retaining walls between the dugouts and the press box. I move that the ECABF be granted authorization to make the improvements at no cost to the district.
Second, Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Sansone. Brings us to Student Affairs and Athletics, Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. President. 28 field trips. A, Mrs. Walters, gifted coordinator, and Mrs. Michelle Hall, transition teacher, request permission to take 10 students to State College to attend the Era Leadership Conference. They will leave at noon on Sunday, March 22nd, and return at approximately 4 p.m. on Wednesday, March 25th, 2015. I move the field trip request be approved as presented.
Second, Mr. Morella. Questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
29 half-day kindergarten feasibility study. I move that the half-day kindergarten feasibility study be delayed due to the implementation of the Dyslexia and Early Literacy Pilot Program grant.
Second, Mr. Stevenson. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
30, admission of student policy number 201. Your folder is the amended admission of student policy number 201 that modifies the eligibility date for admission for kindergarten and beginner students to August 15th. I move the policy be acknowledged, incorporated into the minutes of this evening's meeting, placed on the agenda of subsequent meeting for board approval.
Second, Mr. Gardner. Any questions?
Yeah,
Mr. Stevenson.
what's a beginner student?
What's that?
What's a beginner student?
First grade. Since
One that
kindergarten.
didn't go to kindergarten?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
31, policy number 218.3, your folder is a policy attachment. 218.3, emergency physical restraint report. That has been on display since the December board meeting. I move the policy be adopted as presented.
Second, Mr. Gardner. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
32, 2014-15 school calendar revision. In your folder is revision of the 14-15 school calendar. I move the revised calendar be approved as presented.
Second, Mr. Pizzella.
I have a question. Is the
Question.
only date that's changed on here is the 16th no longer is?
Right, that's a day of school, and then the in-service was flipped.
From one to the other.
From Monday to,
There was no other days then during February or half days or anything? I thought
we
there
have an
was a
Act 80 day in February, but that's not on that calendar.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
It's the 13th, I think.
What, yeah,
Yeah.
13th. Okay,
It's
so
an
that
Act
is
80 day.
still a half.
That's still, yeah, those don't change.
Okay, it just wasn't on here, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we don't put it, it makes it too busy, so we keep them on a separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the only, that was the only change on this particular.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the second, Mr. Nazari.
Mr. Pizzella.
Thank you.
33, athletic expense report. In your folder are the athletic fund treasurer's report for November and December 2014. It reflects total expenses of $17,210.16, $10,587.70 respectively. I move the athletic expense report be approved as presented.
Second, Ms. Pansara. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
34, activity fund quarterly report. In your folder is the activity fund quarterly report as of December 31st, 2014. It reflects a starting balance of $64,046.61, receipts of $66,663.52, expenditures of $45,861.83, resulting in a balance of $84,848.30. I move the quarterly activity report be approved as presented.
Second, Mr. Gazzelli. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved. That concludes.
Thank you. That's all I have from Student Affairs and Athletics, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Move to recognition and communication, Mr. Stevens.
Yes, sir. I have a few from Mr. Frank Keely. Congratulations to the staff and students at Perry Lower Intermediate School for being chosen as a Title I Distinguished School. Perry was chosen for this distinction by the Division of Federal Programs as one of the top performing Title I schools in PA. And congratulations to the staff and students of Perry for being chosen by the state as a reward school for the 2013-14 school year. The school is one of only 105 chosen throughout the state. By the way, there's nearly 3,300 public schools in PA, so only 3% of the schools in the Commonwealth were chosen. Due to this, Perry School is eligible to apply for a $50,000 competitive grant designed to promote the implementation of new learning structures and processes designed to meet the individual student needs. 11 elementary students also, congratulations. They completed in the linguistic competition on December 10th at Slippery Rock. The players compete individually in 3 rounds of competition. The Ellwood City players were undefeated in 15 rounds of play. Perry students were Trinity Elkison, Jack Landis, Maddie McCommons, Olivia Morrow, I'll screw this one up, Maceo Pesci, does anybody know?
Maceo. I didn't know what his last name was, but I know it's Maceo.
Hunter Rock, Hayden Slade, and Chase Wilson. Students from Hartman were Mark Van Horn, Ashton Wilson, and Molly McCommons. Hayden Slade has been undefeated in 2 games on sets and propaganda, thus qualifying him to attend the National Academic Games League of America competition in Orlando, Florida. I think he needs a chaperone. I'll be more than happy.
Duly noted.
Thanks to the Ellwood City, what is this, ECE PTO, Ellwood City Education PTO, for the vital role they play in the district. In December, the PTO volunteers organized and ran the Christmas party and sponsored the visit from Josh and Gab, an anti-bullying rock band. We are blessed to have such a committed group of volunteers. Sincerely, Frank Keely. Also, with that one, for this from Joe Mancini's office, congratulations to Kathy McCommons and the Ellwood City PTO for being honored by Volunteer Spot, an online volunteer sign-up service that the PTO uses. The Ellwood City Elementary PTO was spotlighted on the website with an interview and photo about how the organization uses Volunteer Spot to handle its many hours of volunteer time. The article is below. I don't think I'm going to read it all, though. All right. It is available here if you want to look at it. Now, I got 2 more. First one is from the ECE PTO, that's addressed to the board. Would like to acknowledge and thank the below teachers, administration, and staff for their help at our December Family Fun Night, which was held in Northside. We had 144 children signed up to attend, plus their families for this free evening of fun. 3 elementary teachers, Mrs. Flug, Mrs. Wilson, and Mrs. Windhorst, all attended to supervise an activity where we were sure on help. In addition, Ms. Adams and Ms. Polatico attended to lead the Christmas carols. This is exceptional, being that they're not teachers in the elementary, but rather the high school. This is the second year they have jumped in to help our elementary kids. In addition, Mike Nacero, with all the behind-the-scenes help, was also a necessity for a successful event. Last but far from least, Mrs. Gibson's hands-on help and support ensured the night went off great. This evening would never have been possible without her. With certainty, the night would not have run smoothly without the support and help of all the above people. And that's signed with gratitude by Kathy McCommons, the president of the ECPPO. This one is from Joe Mancini. Each year, the Division of Federal Programs honors the top performing Title I students, or schools rather, in Pennsylvania. This year, we will be using the approved Ellwood Schools Education Association Flexibility Waiver designation of reward, high achievement and reward, high progress. Reward, high achievement schools are the highest 5% of Title I schools based on aggregate math and PSSA or Keystone scores and met all annual measurable objectives. The reward, high progress schools are the highest 5%. Title I schools based on aggregate progress in closing the achievement gap in reading and mathematics for PSSA and or Algebra 1/literature for Keystone exams, combined for all student groups and historically underperforming student groups. Okay, we have selected 96 Title I schools to be named distinguished schools based on that criterion. Using that criterion, Perry Lower Intermediate School has been selected to be a Title I distinguished school in the 2014-2015. Yes. Okay. The Pennsylvania Department of Education, Division of Federal Programs, would like to honor Perry Lower Intermediate School at the 2015 Title I Improving Schools Performance Conference as a 2015 Distinguished Title I School. All distinguished schools will be honored at the conference during the Monday luncheon and will be highlighted within the conference program. As well, all these schools will be eligible to be chosen as Pennsylvania's National Title I Distinguished School. Those schools will be honored at the National I Title Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah in February of 2015. I'll be glad to go out and accept the award.
There should be a board representative.
Congratulations to the administration, staff, students, parents, and all stakeholders in this great honor at Perry. I also want to thank the staff and administration of North Sag Primary who have a hand in preparing those students and giving them a solid foundation in learning because they go to North Sag before they get out to Perry. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevenson, and on behalf of the board, I'd like to echo that and thank the PTO for all of their efforts and all their hard work. They do a wonderful job, and also to congratulate the faculty, students, and administrators at Perry for their excellent accomplishments. And now, is there any new business to discuss? All right, then I'm going to go back to the visitors. We'll start with Mr. Mulholland over there to the left who snuck in after the meeting started.
I'm a chauffeur.
Chauffeur.
Chauffeur tonight.
Okay, well then let's ask the boss, Mrs. Mulholland.
I'm not the boss.
Any questions for the board?
We were just curious if there was an issue about starting times, something about starting times changing possibility?
Yeah, we've been discussing that for the last couple of months at least, and what we have resolved to do is to look into a study. We talked about doing something, but realized it's going to take a little bit of thought, in my own opinion, we need to clearly define, you know, we talk about, oh, let's send out a survey, but before we just blindly send out a survey, we need to determine who are the best people to survey and what is the best way to accomplish that survey that's going to really make it meaningful and valid. So we've charged our superintendent and his staff to do a little bit of research and see what's recommended as the best way to go about that survey so we can move forward and make it the most meaningful data that we can get.
An opinion survey with parents, staff?
What's that?
Is this an opinion survey?
Yeah, I think that for us to get, I think Mr. Morella used the word stakeholders on Monday night, and you know, so we need to look at who are the stakeholders, and you know, off the top of your head, you think faculty, students, parents. You know, we have to take into consideration transportation and you know, other schedules and other folks that will be affected by this. So, you know, we gotta look at it. It's a big, big undertaking, and the fact that we would be basically the first folks in the area to try and do something like this, it makes it even tougher because our schedules won't all mesh with other schedules. So there's a lot to it. So we just need to make sure that we're going about it the right way and really looking at it thoroughly.
Is the district going to form a committee of some kind that will look into all these elements that you're talking about?
There's a possibility that that could happen. We're gonna, you know, see what comes back after we do a little bit of research into the survey, and you know, see what kind of results we get from there. And then if the next logical step would be a committee, then you know, we'll make that decision at that time. Thank you. Next.
I just had a question. If you do survey the parents, you kind of alluded to the fact that you would only do like a select group. Shouldn't it be all of the parents that it affects?
I don't think that anybody said select group. I mean.
Oh, you said selecting the groups, that's why. I just want to
Selecting
make sure that,
who's
okay,
involved
as a
in
whole,
that.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So any of the parents.
I think it'd be naive to think that parents aren't, you know, heavily involved in that.
I think that would be the one that is the most impacted, is being that it's our responsibility to get them to and from school.
Sure, absolutely, and I think that, you know, you get some different reaction. I mean, personally, as a parent, you know, taking my school board hat off and having my dad that takes 4 students to school every morning, it would screw my schedule up, you know, so, and I'm sure that there are some other folks. So, I mean, that has to be taken into consideration, you know, how it's gonna be, you know, able to be worked in the schedule. So that's what I mean, we have to look at every aspect.
It's a huge undertaking. So what were the provisions then when we moved, like, when you chose to move Hartman back? Because they used to be on the traditional elementary start time. Was there a survey then, or my children were not old enough? I didn't know what how that decision was made to move Hartman.
Oh, they were neighborhood schools, the K through 12, 6, so they were operating.
Right, but I mean, they were still like elementary age, so I just didn't know how you decided that.
Busing was one of the major
Okay.
factors as we were changing from the way that the schools were run before. You know, we had to make sure that the transportation was going to work, so that was one of the major factors for sure.
Okay.
If I may say something, for the record, I was the one who jumped on Mr. Garda's bandwagon when he first had brought to the board about changing school time. And I know that there's a lot of people involved and so on. It's you know, I've been the one with the biggest push for it. And I would just like it to be known that the reason for it isn't about what's best for the parents, what's best for the teachers, what's best for the administration. It's what's best for our kids.
Oh, I totally
And I think
agree.
we've lost sight of what's best for our kids. We're always gonna be inconvenienced. I mean, who wants to go pick up your kid and take them to soccer and have to go back and get them and sit there and dance class? I mean, it goes on and on and on forever. But there are so many studies out there, and I sound like a broken record, and forgive me, but we need to do what's best for our kids, period. And if that's what's best for our kids, and that's what the pediatric studies say, and especially for the older kids, and I really think we need to be focusing on what's best for our kids, and the rest will fall into place.
Thank you, Mrs. Petrelli.
Sorry.
We talked, I think I read, heard, or saw something about it would affect sports or something. How many sports events happen before 3 o'clock? Track, one of them, I think, maybe tennis, I think.
Tennis, golf.
Golf.
But they leave early anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, and there are other schools that have later start times than
Yeah,
us, and they are able to do
gotta
it and
roll-
participate in sports.
Yeah, rather than waste time digging into the double details, I mean, there's some things you just gotta throw out, rather than say sports, I mean,
Because that's always the answer.
yeah.
These are all the things that need to be taken into
Yeah,
consideration.
that's probably
That's
what
why
they're-
it's not anything that you can rush into. It's a
Right.
major undertaking, and we need to look at every aspect. Thank you.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, and in the back, Jeff?
Well, I don't have a dog in this fight as far as what time school starts, but I would say to Ms. Petrelli's comments that while it is what's best for the student, perhaps the students shouldn't be out as late as they're involved in as many extracurricular activities as they're involved in, and maybe it's our responsibility to make sure they're in. Because I don't think the studies show that school starts too early, but that they need their rest. And
Actually, teenagers, if you read the studies, and I could send you the link if you'd like, there's enormous amounts of studies. The teenagers, the older they are, their chemical makeup, their actual hormones, actually prevent them from going to sleep, they say, before like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I mean, this is things that I read that I was unaware of.
Yeah,
So
this isn't a parenting issue, because our kids do go to bed at a very early time, and it's still a struggle.
Getting
We do have some things, that, obviously in the evenings and homework and things, but this is not parenting problem that we're talking about. And that study that you're citing really speaks volumes about the fact that it isn't parenting, it isn't the school, it's biological issue.
Well, they also in a study said, and it's going on right now in Myrtle Beach, I know personally, that they switched and had elementary kids go earlier, way earlier though, like the same time, like 7:30,
right.
and do that. So it's,
They say the older they are, the later start that's actually.
but I don't have a problem with my kids starting at 7:30. I mean, they're not gonna wanna get up whether it's 8:30 or 9 o'clock or whatever. And, I mean, the kids are
Mornings are
kids,
mornings.
as well as I'm an adult and I teach, and I don't wanna get up too at 5:30 in the morning, but I do. So, I mean, I think that that's probably one of those things that it doesn't matter when the start time is, kids are kids, and so, but, it is out there that elementary kids do better earlier than high school because of that. They don't go to bed until it's their body.
And I think we all can have personal opinions about a lot of things, but we really, if we look at it objectively, we have to look at this, do a study like you guys are talking about. That's, my big concern tonight was that it's not a closed issue because of opinions, and that it is an open issue that you're willing to entertain, at least looking at what this all means in a more objective way.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Mr. Krosovic, did you have anything further?
No, doing the right thing for the right reason is the right thing to do, whatever the right reason might be.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yeah.
That's the ticket, the right thing.
Exactly. It's, and the right reason is the children, not the convenience of the parents, so.
All right, fantastic. Well, we are going to adjourn to go into executive session.
One quick answer.
Mr. Gordon, please.
The ESD. Thank you to ESD.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
For our Christmas gift.
Yeah,
That was very nice.
Absolutely. Very well said. We'll send a letter to thank you for their gifts. Very nice. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. All right, with nothing further, we will adjourn to go into executive session for personnel. A motion to adjourn. It's, made by Mr. Bazzelli and seconded by Mr. Carter.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I don't know how good it did, but I'm trying. No, they're not.
kids were still through that.
Because it affects their lives, that's why. They won't be home at 3 o'clock every day.
3 or 2:30.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.